around 300 people chose to ignore the warnings that had been given by police in terms of coming to this public gathering. In terms of action taken, I can advise you that a 24-year-old female was issued with an infringement notice in relation to the COVID health order.
So this sellout reading out this script, making out like he and the government think that this COVID thing isn't over because we've issued some fines. See, it's all back on. No, it was over. It was over last weekend when 30,000 people turned up in the city unchallenged and sanctioned by the government. That's it. It's over. It doesn't matter that they paraded all of these coppers out there for the big photo opportunity, standing there all by themselves. No one's around them. Look, see, it's not over. We're all still out here with our masks on. Nah, it's over. And I haven't been able to find the name or a photo or any images of the woman who supposedly got fined. This ABC's story is a bit deceptive because they say that a woman got fined and have got this picture of this woman, but then in the caption they just mention that she's a protester. Don't actually link her to receiving any fine, and there's no name anyway. Nah, it's over. I drove past a fiddler in northwest Sydney and to pick up some takeaway, and the car park was absolutely full. I saw headlights driving around trying to find a spot. The fiddler publishes these token COVID rules, but there's absolutely no way with a full car park. I've been in there quite a few times. Could they keep people 4 square metres apart? Could not be done. And the fiddlers on the this is a view from Windsor Road. It's the busiest arterial road in northwest Sydney. No doubt at least a couple of cop cars would have driven past. Any astute copper who's aware of the social distancing rules on a balance of probability, there should be something to look at here. Cops didn't go in. We were at this shopping centre, Macquarie Centre, on Sunday, and it took us about 3 laps of the car park to get a spot. It was packed, and we went into one shop, JD Sports, and people were on top of each other. There was absolutely no safe distancing. Now, the cops should be patrolling these areas. We didn't see one cop. They're not going to shopping centres or to pubs or anything because they know it's over. So their tactic now is to stage these photo op with the media in tow, taking all the vision to make out like this thing's still going. But look, it's not. It's over. There's no way they're going to go to Macquarie Centre, pick someone out and give them a fine. It's not going to happen. No more being clapped off the beach. Remember this in the video I put up earlier on? She's clapping her hands. Come on, move along, children, move along. That's all over. Like if they went up to people on the beach now and said, come on, COVID's about, they're just going to say, mate, 30,000 people were crammed into the city. The virus isn't a threat. We're not leaving. What are you going to do about it? Well, that's what I hope people would do, and that's what they should do, because this thing is over. And it's not just that, there was 30,000 people crammed together and nothing happened. People are reading the statistics. You tell them 100 people have died, old people are going to die anyway. People are understanding that. There's just so much evidence that this was a big load of bullshit. And they shot themselves in the foot when they tried to report that this 30-year-old Queenslander had died of COVID. The lying media even vilified him, making out like he was a party boy, flouting social distancing, therefore he died. They said he tested positive in a post-mortem examination, when in actual fact, he's a young guy, he had an underlying illness, haven't mentioned what it is, probably cancer or something, that he hadn't worked for 6 months, and that's what he died from, not from COVID. Now, his family knew it, gave him a hard time, said, listen, he was already sick, we know what he died from, it wasn't that, and, we've conducted a second test, look, it's actually come back negative. I mean, why would they conduct a second test? If they're going to conduct a second test, why did the media let all that information out about the first test? So they had to wind this number back from 103 back to 102. Now, this is their stats. This is 6 months of the deadliest disease that's ever going to hit Australia. 102 old people that were close to death anyway, and people know that. They've been parading out these chief health medical officers, bureaucrats and politicians and supposed medical experts for the last 6 months, just telling absolute bullshit about this virus based on modelling that they won't release, based on reports that Queensland Health won't give to the High Court, and the High Court won't even ask for it, confirm why they closed the border. They need to walk back this lie incrementally. That's why they've got all of these easing restrictions in stages. Because if they could stop it now, but if they did, everyone would go, well, hang on, what was it all about if you can stop it right now? So they're just going through the motions, continuing the lie, but just scaling it back. People going to the footy, easing restrictions on hotels and restaurants, and winding back the lockdown. After 6 months of nothing but bullshit coming from politicians and bureaucrats. I think they initially expected that they could drag this out to September to brutalise the Australian people and the economy for all that time, because all of their programs, and they kept saying, oh, in September, let's look forward to September, but it's all being brought forward, and I think that's purely because of all the pressure they're coming under, not just on the streets, at the shops, down at the beach, and in the pubs and clubs. It's coming also in the courts for Palaszczuk. That's pretty much it for this one. I did originally think, and it's still a possibility, they could go for lockdown Mark 2, but they'd have to then fudge the COVID figures, and I think after that 30-year-old, that retraction and pressure from families that, you know, they're not going to cop their loved ones being called COVID cases when they're not. So I think the lockdown, I don't think lockdown 2 is going to come. It would be very audacious if they did. I think it's just over. But it's, thinking about time frames, I did this video back in April about them hiring or renting a whole high-rise for 12 months. That was in April. It's June. Is that a bit premature? Let's watch this little bit here.
Of a huge coronavirus rescue operation to protect the state's most vulnerable from the disease. The controversial plan will see ex-prisoners and the homeless moved into the inner city suburb.
Many of the state's homeless and released prisoners will call this upmarket high-rise home in...
That was a whole high-rise. It was to help out an international, in the same way they've helped out the theme parks and given them money to get them through. All of their foreign-owned businesses don't want to be affected by it. That's what they did here. They took the people being brutalised. They added debt to their balance sheet in order to keep these corporates, keep their wealth for themselves. And this was back in April. It was a 12-month lease. It's only June. Wasn't a bit premature, was it? 12 months. Hang on. Things have returned to normal. The borders are going to be open very soon. Everyone's back at school. Everyone's wandering around. So the next 12 months or 9 months, ex-prisoners, supposedly, and homeless, I'm not even sure they're even in there. Some people back in the day when I put this up, or back in the day, back a few months ago, said, I drive past, there's hardly any lights on, no one's in there, so who knows what's going on. I think they were just covering them until the students came back, and they were just covering the rent for this international, because this building's run by an international company based in the UK, and they've gone to the government, hey, don't screw us over, hey, we'll look after you, and they've given them the money, but it's in April, they signed a 12-month lease contract, and what, in 12 months' time, the homeless and the ex-cons are going to be pretty comfortable. Well, we've got to get out, we like it here. I don't even think they're in there. All right. Okay. Well, that's it for this one. Like I said, this thing is over. For as far as the people go walking around the streets, it's over.